you might want to double check and see how certain you are of wanting to be a mind reader. And that's for any of us who may like sometimes wish that we had that ability. Like, I wish I could just read somebody's mind, just know what they thinking. At least give me some cheat codes in this thing, right? But with that comes this whole compendium where it's this mirror, and your thoughts and the neural pathways and all of the trillions of things that happen per second inside of the brain with the synapses, the connections, the synaptic firings from tentacle to dendrite, and how all these things affect the mitochondria, hippocampus, cerebellum, the midbrain, the lower brain, upper brain, whatever the case, the reptilian brain, how all of these things, they become a landscape that now you have to consider if you're going to read somebody's mind. Now you have to be someone who's well traveled in the brain. So this requires the study of psychology. This is one of the main shortcuts to godhood, because whether we like it or not, no matter what anyone's claiming to believe or worship or have any kind of power, at the end of the day, all is mind. No matter who says what about spirit or heart, all of these things are going to point to some form of intelligence. And if you're going to point to any form of intelligence, any form of rhyme or reason, any form of existence, whether explainable or inexplicable, you're still dealing in the realm of mind. It is still a concept, and anything that is conceived is mental. And now if you're wanting to achieve something even higher than that, so let's say you do master mentalism, which is really just knowing all the tricks of the trade with the field of psychology, to the point where you can influence a person's psychiatry. You can engage in neuroplasticity, which is really what many light workers and even dark workers do when they're basically making an impact here. You're influencing people's thoughts, and if you're influencing their thoughts, you're influencing their brain chemistry. If you're influencing their brain chemistry, you're influencing the shape of their brain. So do you really want to read minds? Because if you want to read minds, you certainly can't be one of the kind of people who gets bored easy, because anybody who gets bored easily, they're not dealing with their own thoughts. They're requiring other stimulants from the outside, from the far outside, from other people, from other sources, right? And all of this is in the realm of that. And if you take it a step even higher, now you start talking about godhood. Now you're dealing with two S words that you have to blend very, very correctly, very carefully, very succinctly. You have to connect synchronicity and synthesis. These are universal laws too. It's roughly 105 of them, but here's two main ones that'll give you some kind of grasp of some of what godhood is involved in. So synchronicity is just your ability to pick up on events that synchronize. Something is synced up. This happens over here. It's just like transferring data across different devices. Back in the desktop and laptop age, these things you would transfer files on and off a disk, on and off a phone. And what you would have in the early days of the phone is you would have an option to sync things up. This mainly happens automatically now with the updates, and through your email, it automatically happens. But once upon a time, we used to be asked the question and given prompts as to whether or not we wanted to sync up our data and put it on all devices across anything that our email touches. We could bring up all of our information. The step to godhood is you have to consider that everything is synced up, but you're actively seeking out and influencing the synchronicities. So you're engaging in what is called synthesis. Now you're synthesizing, you're synchronizing things. When you do it manually, that is synthesis. When you acknowledge it and notice it, perceive it, that's just simply synchronicity. You're picking up on the patterns, you're picking up on the similarities. But once you start looking at something that doesn't immediately appear synchronistic and start to pull things together and make sense of it and pull the pieces together yourself, you are in the act of synthesizing. And if you involve cosmologies, now you're dealing with syncretism. but that's sinking, not sinking into the floor as in to go into the sunken place, but sinking, which means to synchronize, like synchronized swimming. You're making the same moves. These things are important to know because a lot of strongholds, they function off synchronicity. A demon like Legion, he functions off of synchronicity. Anything that controls a hive mind, they're functioning off of synchronicity. They're synced up with each other in the hive. And now you have to consider the roughly between 60 to 80,000 thoughts per day that each human being thinks, and you have to multiply that by what, 8 billion, to give you some grasp on higher levels of godhood, because there's some levels that lower levels of God where maybe other beings will probably just be over a region, and that's got to be a lot too. You think about Dark Knight, how they was using that technology to basically hack everybody and spy into everybody. This gives you a little sense of godhood too, the technological surveillance that goes on, that whole omniscient thing of all knowing, and the feeling of omnipresence, being able to be everywhere, but not necessarily being all powerful. You notice how the other two things are flaunted in front of you in the Trinity, but the third thing is not. Yeah, everything is being presented to you instead of power. Everything is being pushed on you besides power, right? You get that? You can know everything, you could be everywhere, but you can't have power. But synchronizing these things and understanding them and reconciling that relationship between knowing as much as you can and being as many places as you can, if you can make sense of all of that, there's an all power that comes with it.